I read the diary and I couldn't believe my eyes. It was nuts. What was going on? Hi, it's no coincidence that I started telling my story in a dusty attic. After all, that was where I encountered the biggest mystery of my life. But let me tell you about myself first. I'm Barbara, and I'll be over the moon if you like this video right now. My life was practically perfect. I looked gorgeous, and wherever I went, people stared at me with admiration. I was the school queen and was dating an amazing guy. Look at how handsome Lester was. But there were also a lot of people that envied me. Take Amy, for example. She used to be my friend. To be honest, I don't even remember why we stopped hanging out together. She probably couldn't stand how popular and beautiful I was. Whenever we ran into each other, Amy always grimaced like she was looking at a rotten fish. One day, we even fought over a drinking fountain. Hey, Miss Stuck-Up, could you hurry up? You're not the only one who's thirsty. Oh baby, you'll get wrinkles if you keep scowling like that. Long story short, school wasn't big enough for both of us. Unfortunately, things at home were even worse. My parents were absolute control freaks. They kept track of what and how much I ate, and even made me get on the scales once a week. Can you imagine? Mom and Dad were more obsessed with my appearance than I was. It was infuriating. They also monitored my social media and often forbade me from going to parties or dates with Lester. One day, they didn't let me go to my boyfriend's birthday party. They'd gone too far. Of course, I didn't listen to them and sneaked out to Lester. And of course, I got the scolding of my life for that. I didn't understand why they didn't trust me. As a punishment, I had to sort through things in our dusty attic that weekend. That's where it all began. I found a battered diary from 2 years ago with my name on it in one of the boxes. I had a habit of drawing hearts over some letters. See? That's why I recognized my handwriting right away. But the craziest thing was that I didn't remember ever keeping a diary. Of course, I got curious and decided to read it. On the first pages, I'd written about meeting a cool girl called Sally. She was overweight, but not embarrassed about it. Thanks to my royal size, I will never be blown away by the wind. I'd written that whenever I felt sad, she dragged me to eat hamburgers or ice cream. Sally always knew how to cheer me up. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. I had admired my friend for how cheerful and confident she was. Luckily, I'd written down her address in the diary. It seems she lived near the local amusement park. We spent a lot of time hanging out together and eating all sorts of snacks. And then, one day, Sally and I were eating pizza at Johnny's Pepperoni Cafe when my classmates walked in there. They saw me and began to tease me for something. One of the boys spilled a milkshake on me, and his friends burst out laughing. I almost started crying like a baby, but then Sally stood up for me. She decided to get back at my bully and put a slice of pizza on his chair. He didn't notice anything and sat down right on the melted cheese. It was hilarious. But then, I'd written that I fought with Sally and told her to leave. The worst thing was I didn't remember anything about my friend or that incident. So who was Sally and where could I find her? Those thoughts wouldn't leave me alone. When Mom came home from work, I asked her if she knew anything about Sally. What are you talking about? Are you feeling well? What did you eat today? I rolled my eyes. Ugh, Mom was being overprotective again. I realized that my parents would be of no help. I had to solve the mystery myself. So, the next day, I headed to Sally's house. It should be here. What is this? This makes no sense. It might be hard to believe, but when I came to that address, I saw a van selling cotton candy instead of a house. It was delicious, by the way. Still, I felt uneasy. I kept getting more questions and no answers. Where am I supposed to look for Sally now? And then I thought about the Johnny's Pepperoni Cafe I'd written about in my diary and headed there. The place seemed vaguely familiar. Had I really been there before? The cafe owner suddenly came up to me and started talking to me like we'd known each other forever. Haven't seen you in a while. Do you remember me? Well, of course. A couple of years ago, you came here and ate a huge pizza every day. You've lost a lot of weight since then, though. I got mad and told him I had always been slim. Had the old man confused me with someone? But then he said that some guy had once spilled a milkshake over me and I stopped coming to that cafe. He couldn't remember anything about my friend Sally, though. I was so confused. What could it all mean? When I came back home, I kept reading the diary. Apparently after I'd fought with Sally, I befriended a slender athlete, Sue. I spent a lot of time with her too. Sue introduced me to the world of trendy diets and beauty treatments. For example, one day she convinced me to make a face mask out of rotten avocados. It's great for your skin. Yeah, except I spent half a day running from a swarm of wasps. I started going to the gym and jogging with my new friend. If I was being lazy or wanted to eat junk food, Sue would start scolding me like a strict coach. I kept reading the diary and was puzzled by what happened next. One day, Sue and I went shopping and ran into Amy in a store. She looked me up and down and said that I looked terrible. Barbara, have you looked in the mirror lately? You look like you've been chewed by a camel and then spat back out. Well, that stung. Sue decided to teach her a lesson. She took a top from a hanger and sneakily put it into Amy's purse. When Amy tried to leave, she was stopped by a security guard because he thought that Amy had stolen it. But I didn't take anything. I was set up. That was probably why my classmate was holding a grudge against me. Even though I didn't like Amy, Sue had gone too far. However, what bothered me most was that I didn't remember any of it. Nor did I remember Sue herself. Where was she now? I could have talked to Amy about it, but I didn't want to ask my rival for help. Instead, I called Lester and asked him if he knew anything about Sally and Sue, but he was no help. Sorry, baby. We weren't hanging out back then, so I don't know who you hung out with 2 years ago. What a bummer. I kept investigating and went to the gym. I'd apparently frequented to get some answers. The administrator looked at me for a long time, but finally said that she did remember something. Oh right, a couple of years ago you came here every day and worked out until you couldn't move any longer. I'm glad to see that you're fine. You looked like a skeleton back then. What? It couldn't be true. But she said that I even fainted on a treadmill once. To my surprise, she said I always came alone. My head was spinning. I didn't understand anything at all. Where were Sally and Sue? Aliens hadn't kidnapped them, had they? As I drove home, I tried to find the girls on social media, with no success. The diary was my only lead, so I decided to finish reading it. It turned out that after I fainted in the gym, I saw Sally again. Babe, this isn't right. You should eat more. Your skin and bones. Let's see what's in your fridge. But then Sue came and the girls started to argue about me. Don't listen to her, Barbara. You look great. And you shouldn't eat junk food. Unless, of course, you want to have checks as big as Sally's. Hey, I like my checks. My friends were fighting like wildcats. They made a real mess in my room. And then the three of us went to a place called The Right Way. That was the last entry in the diary. I felt like I was stuck in some sort of crazy dream. I had to get to the bottom of it, and Googled The Right Way. No way in hell. It turned out that it was some sort of clinic. I went there right away. When I arrived, I said I wanted to understand what was going on with me. A doctor suggested we talk in his office. I'm Dr. Parker. A few years ago, I was your doctor. I found out from my diary that I came here with my friends, but then they disappeared. I want to find them. Oh, I know who you're talking about. Well, your friends are right here. Let me show you. Dr. Parker rummaged through the desk and pulled out a folder with my name on it. And then he pulled drawings of Sally and Sue out of it. What's the meaning of it? Barbara, those were your imaginary friends. First, a cheerful Sally to justify overeating, and then you want to lose weight so much you imagine Slim Sue so that she would help you exercise and stick to a diet. But you went too far and had a nervous breakdown. That's why your parents sent you here. I couldn't believe my eyes. The doctor told me I spent some time in the clinic and improved my health. I started to eat normally, exercise moderately, and finally got into good shape. We used hypnosis so that it would be easier for you to move on from this traumatic experience. You forgot the unpleasant memories and went back to living a normal life. And then, I saw flashes of memory, and finally remembered everything. I used to be a skinny kid. My peers often teased me for it and called me a skeleton. It made me feel very self-conscious. My parents were constantly working, so they were always tired and didn't have any time to deal with my problems. I also always had been madly in love with Lester, but he treated me like I didn't exist. At the time, I became friends with Amy, who tried to encourage me and was always there for me. Barbara, don't mind those morons. You look great and you shouldn't change just because of what someone else thinks. You don't get it. I really want to be with Lester, and he doesn't notice me because of how I look. Then he's not worthy of you. You shouldn't have to prove anything to him. But I ignored Amy's words and tried to get Lester and his cool friends to like me. One day, I ran into them at an amusement park. I was mistaken for a child by the park employee because of my looks and wasn't allowed to ride a carousel. Lester's friends saw what happened and started laughing. I wanted to sink through the floor. I ran away in tears and hid behind a cotton candy van. That was where I decided that I had to gain some weight if I wanted to be liked. So Sally was born to help me gain weight. Hi. You're light as a feather. Let's fix that. Order the biggest portion of cotton candy. Come on. I started to gorge myself on food, but quickly lost control of my appetite and got fat. My classmates switched to bullying me for that. And one day, Lester spilled a milkshake on me in the cafe and laughed. At first, I got back at him. And then I decided I had to say goodbye to Sally since I blamed her for all my problems. That's when my new imaginary friend was born, Slender Sue. With her help, I got so carried away with losing weight that I almost became anorexic. That's what Amy meant when she said I looked terrible at the store. She was just trying to help me, but I got angry at her for it and put a crop top in her purse. After that, we had a huge fight. I kept exhausting myself to the point where I fainted in the gym, and then I had a nervous breakdown and trashed my room. And my parents finally realized that something was wrong with me. So they sent me to the clinic for treatment. Dr. Parker helped me a lot. I finally stopped starving myself and overeating. Soon I looked gorgeous, and Lester finally noticed me and asked me out. Wow, so that's what happened to me. Now I know why my parents were watching my diet and weight so closely. They blamed themselves for what happened and worried that it might happen again. I talked to Dr. Parker a bit more and thanked him for everything. I'm glad I helped you figure everything out. I hope you'll be alright. Don't even doubt it. Even though I just found out that a lot of bad things had happened to me in the past, I walked out of the clinic in a great mood. I realized that I'd paid a big price for trying to meet different standards of beauty. From now on, I would just be me. Lester called me and suggested we meet. I agreed because I wanted to talk to him. Hi, how's my pretty girl doing? Never better. And you know, I realized something. You are a mean hypocrite. First you made fun of me for being thin, then for being fat. You only liked me after I turned into a better version of myself. What are you saying? That we're done. I broke up with that liar. There was only one more thing I wanted to do. I bought Amy's favorite pistachio ice cream and went to apologize. I'm sorry you've always been so honest with me, but I didn't listen to you and even set you up. You're a great friend. We hugged and she said she forgave me. I'm glad I managed to get my life back on track. I was even able to convince my parents that I had learned my lesson and no longer needed to be watched like a little kid. Let's just spend more time together. It will be much better for all of us. That's it. I hope my story will inspire you to be yourself. You shouldn't try to please people who don't deserve your attention. Don't forget to press like and subscribe to the channel. We still have a lot more stories to tell.